Welcome to a very special episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Because today, my guest is going to interview me. I'm Karen E. Osborne, your host, and my guest today is Frances Marie Hoke. Hey, Frances.
Karen, good morning.
So good to see you. Frances is a beautiful poet. She's also a memorist, and now she has a novel coming out. When does it come out, Frances?
It's scheduled for April 24. Seems far away, but the work I have to do is gonna make it go quickly.
April 20. That doesn't seem far at all. She's got a lot to do, and it's called When Banana Stains Fade, a Jamaican family saga of adversity and redemption. And I had the honor of reading it, and it is a beautiful, lyrical, it's a wrenching story in many ways, but it's also a hopeful story, and the language is luscious. So you're going to want to, but you'll hear more about Frances and her book in upcoming episodes.
Thank
But
you so
today,
much, Karen.
this lovely lady is going to turn the tables on me and interview me in anticipation of True Grace's my beautiful True Grace. Look at that book. Isn't that gorgeous?
Oh, that's fantastic. Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. Four
You?
novels in 6 years.
Yes. So True Grace comes out September 7th. So I am in your hands.
Well, welcome to my hands. Your latest work is a kind of departure. Your readers know you. We know you as someone who writes mystery stories, and they're set in modern times. But you have taken the plunge with True Grace. You have gone into historical fiction with first-person narrative. Those are two bold steps, very challenging, but I also had the pleasure of reading sections of True Grace, and it's going to be amazing. It's already amazing. So why did you decide to change and write True Grace?
All of my books always start with a character talking to me in my head. Somebody starts telling me her story, and then I think, oh, I have to write this. And this is a story inspired by my grandmother. And I tried it many, many times over the years. I'd always just wanted to tell the story, but it just never worked until Grace started talking to me. Until I had to let go of my grandmother and embrace the woman who is Grace and let her start telling me her story in her way. And so I thought at first I was going to write a memoir, just kind of like a memoir. But that wasn't working because I had to make up too much stuff. So it ended up being a work of fiction inspired by, although it's not true to everything that happened to her.
You did some embellishment.
Yes, which is what I enjoy doing.
Exactly, and you're allowed to. So all of us believe our grandmothers are inspiring, and they are inspiring to us. Why should your grandmother's story inspire readers in general, not just you?
So many of the things that she faced. So my grandmother was a mixed race woman who came to this country, to the U.S., via several other countries. she went from the Congo to England to Jamaica, and then to the Bronx, New York, and then Harlem, New York.
And during what period was this for Harlem? Because we all know Harlem has such history. Jamaica has history. All of these countries have history. So what was the period of time, and how did you sort of bring them all together in this character, Grace?
Yeah, so this is set in 1924, and it's right during the Harlem Renaissance, during the Roaring 20s, during women having so much more agency Women were, getting rid of their girdles or their, they
Freedom.
were freedom. They were corsets. Of course, they were back then. They weren't girdles. They were corsets. They were untying their corsets and tossing them away. And Grace was in the midst of all of this, but she couldn't take advantage of any of it because in 1924 she was up until then, but then in 1924 a terrible, terrible thing happened, and she suddenly was on the verge of losing her family, losing everything that she knew. And so it was a hard scrabble life. And I think why this story will be really resonate with our readers is so many of the things that she had to face in 1924 we're still facing today.
Have
She
not
had to
gone away.
They have not gone away. She had to deal with racism and misogyny and police not believing her. And so I think it'll feel contemporary in that sense, like, oh my goodness, but this was 100 years ago. And yet, so many of the things that she had to go through. And then it's my typical fast pace, short,
Page
fast
turner.
moving
Page turner.
chapters.
So I was particularly interested in Grace's ties to Jamaica because I'm Jamaican myself. How did her Jamaican experience help to shape the woman she became? Did she spend enough time there, and what happened to her there?
Yeah, so she was there from the time she was about 10 years old until she was maybe 23, 24.
Significant period in her life.
And it was the growing up years. One would think it would be the school years and the, first boyfriends, blushing first boyfriends. And she was there alone with her mother. None of her family lived there. She had been exiled there from this organization in England, and they packed her up and shipped her to Jamaica where they knew no one. She and her mama knew nobody there. And she was very happy for a couple of years. She loved the schools. She loved everything that was going on until her mother met this man who wanted to marry her.
A
And she
young
was only
girl.
he was
Married her,
only
very young
12
girl.
when he first decided he wanted to marry her. And that changed it changed everything in her
Everything.
life. So her time in Jamaica then turned very, very sad, because she was, 13 years old, pregnant, felt deserted. She lived a carriage ride away from her mother. Although there were cars that had been already invented and stuff, where she was, they were still riding in carriages, horse-drawn carriages, to get between St. Catherine and Kingston. So Jamaica was sad for her.
How well do you know that part of Jamaica's history, and how did you use it to shape the story?
I had to do a lot of research, and Frances, I don't like research.
I know that. Yes, we writers don't like research. We want to invent things.
Just invent things. Things happen. It was amazing to find actual photos of the places, like where they honeymooned. I found the hotel where they honeymooned, and the beach that she had told me about, where I guess it was a river. They were on a river. The beach was close by. The ocean was very close by, but there was a river there, and she had described all these things for me, and then I was able to find actual pictures of them, and the different trees that grow in Jamaica, the ackee tree, and an avocado, and of course mango.
Every
Mangoes.
fruit is there.
But every kind of fruit, and bananas, and so it was wonderful to just go. And there had been an earthquake 2 years before, she got there, and there were still scarred buildings from the giant earthquake that had happened. But her husband was from a wealthy family, and so she had servants, and she, um, she lived like a gentry's life, but she was pulled out of school, which broke her heart, and
Because she
that
wanted to
shaped her.
learn.
She wanted to learn, and that shaped her in two ways. One, when she had to fight for her family and she didn't have skills. And second, because she was determined for her children to have the education that she didn't have.
How did these hardships turn around, and what messages do you get from her story?
I don't want to give too much of the plot away,
Right.
but I would say the messages are that she was resilient, that she was, I'll even tell you what some of the reviewers said, because some of the early reviews, which I think they really captured true Grace in so many ways. A compelling and suspenseful historical family drama about a woman with intelligence, courage, heart, and of course, grace. And then,
Great.
of course, grace. And it's gripping, heartbreaking, and inspired. A true delight. So I think people will come away just feeling, first of all, they'll know Grace, they'll know her, they'll be immersed in 1924 speakeasy, Harlem Renaissance. They'll be immersed in the Congo that she left behind, the England she left behind, Jamaica that she left behind. And they'll see how she just, as every one thing after another obstacle got in her way, she found a way to push through. And on a personal level, I just admire her so much, because I see this was 1924, and she went up against the police. She went up against the social services. This was 100 years ago, and she had the courage to do things that people in the 50s and the 60s and the 90s and even now don't have the courage to do.
But she was ahead of her time.
She was ahead of her time, and I think people will find her inspiring.
It sounds as if she's really an inspirational character, and the way you tell the story will help to just bring it all together for the reader to get the lessons, but not in a preachy way, to get the lessons and the different cultures merging together in a multicultural pot.
A multicultural plot. I like that. Yes.
Very nice.
I did have to get the Jamaica right. And so I did ask, I'll just say to you, audience, but I did check different parts of the Jamaica story with my Jamaican friends, including Frances Marie, because you want to make sure that you're representing the women. The Jamaican women they're blunt women. I'll just say that.
That's a gentle way of saying it.
But they're courageous women, and they stand up for what they believe, and they speak up. And I think that, you asked me earlier what came from Grace's Jamaica experience, and I was thinking more of the sad things that happened to her there. But now, as I think about this and I say this to you, I realize that those were formative years for her, and the Jamaican women that she knew had to feed some of that courage that she had to show once she got to America. And her best friend, Beryl, is Jamaican, and her best friend also gives her courage and comfort and all the things you would want a best friend to do.
Right.
Yeah.
So when she faces the traumas and the dramas later on, that fierce Jamaican spirit comes out and helps to shape maybe your own personality in some ways.
That could be. I'm West Indian on all fronts but one. So my grandmother, my oldest aunties were born in Jamaica, but my father was born here. And then, so I'm second generation. And then my other grandmother was born in Guyana. And so I'm very much the Caribbean culture. And my grandfather on my father's side, he was Jamaican. And my grandfather on my mother's side was actually direct descendant of slaves. He was seventh generation American. Um, we could trace him all the way back to the slave ship that brought him here. So I've
Well,
got a
I'm
lot.
sorry, but you're just you part of your core is Jamaican and Caribbean, so I'm sure
There
it
you go.
comes out in the story. So your launch date is less than a month away. What do you have planned that your audience should be tapping into to get ahead of the game?
Well, the book is on pre-order now. So it's available on Amazon. It's available on Barnes and Noble. You can buy it at our my publishers, blackrosewriting.com. It's available for pre-order. And so that's the first thing. Order it, order it, order it. And then I'm available for book clubs. I'm available for talks, any place around. I do have a big event planned in New York City. If you follow me.
Exciting.
Yes, it is in a jazz club.
Oh, no, that brings together some other stuff.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Cool. So the best way to find out about all those things and be part of it is to follow me on KarenEosborne.com. I'm on Facebook, Karen E. Osborne author. I'm on Instagram and I am on LinkedIn, but I don't talk a lot about my books on LinkedIn, just every once in a while. I talk about my other life, my philanthropy nonprofit life that a lot of you know me from, but Facebook, Instagram, and maybe I'm gonna do threads. I don't know. I'm thinking about it.
Everybody's talking about threads and the advantages that it has over Facebook, but I have not yet ventured into that.
I haven't either, nor have I tried Book Talk either, which a lot of people say I should. So I don't know, but I'm still happiest with meeting my readers face to face or on Zoom because I can do book clubs like this. I like seeing my readers. I like having conversations with them. So I'm happy to go and visit wherever and whenever. I have another book signing in November, and I have another one. I have September, October, November, and I still have months ahead of that. But I could say yes to you. So let me
Oh my
know.
goodness, you have a packed schedule coming up.
Yes.
So for book club members, will you be providing any prompts for discussions or discussion questions eventually?
Yes. And for all of my books, Reckonings, Reckonings, and Tangled Lies, and Murder Mystery, and Getting It Right, my very first book. And so therefore, my love.
First
There
baby.
Yes, my first baby. There are discussion questions for all those books, and I'm having my website redone. There'll be a big reveal in August of
Oh,
my
that's so exciting, Karen. You are on the ball with this marketing.
yes, so I'm hopeful, although I just got a royalty check and I realized that I make like the royalty check is about the size of like one marketing, you know, the cost of one marketing.
Marketing event. But it's a
We
book that
a lot of
counts.
money on our books.
Yes, but it's a book that counts. And in this case, it's True Grace. So, I mean, what can we say about the royalties? True Grace will be out there.
That's what's important. That is what's important. So I am happy. This is a dream come true, and I'm just thrilled. And I'm so glad that I finally was able to get Grace's story, a portion of her story, told.
Does that mean there may be a sequel?
She has a lot of rich stories to tell, but I'm already started novel number 5, and
Not
it's
even a
totally
breath between them?
plus plus I had a short story published this year, and thank you. And I have 4 ready to go out in September. So I don't know about sequels. I'm moving forward.
Moving forward, moving forward. Well, you have always been moving forward since I've known you. And this program is a way of moving forward. And it would be remiss if I did not ask you, what book recommendations are you making? After all, the name of the program is What Are You Reading? We have been speaking about what you have been writing, but what have you been reading?
So, of course, like all of us, we are voracious readers. And I read, so I one of the things I do is I read a lot of books of fellow writers so that we can help each other and support each other.
Right.
So I've had the pleasure of reading, as I said, Frances Marie Koch's novel, which I loved, and I just posted an interview of Luella Bryant, and it's called Sheltering Angel, and it's a beautiful, beautiful book. So I read a lot of my fellow authors who are all just out there trying to get known and try to be known. I'm reading one called The Thread Collectors.
Yes, you
And
told me about that, but I'm sure your audience wants to hear more.
yes, so it's about takes place in the Civil War and during the Civil War. And it's about 2 families, one Jewish and one enslaved, and and 2 musicians and 2 women who make uh, escape maps for enslaved men to find their way north and find their way to the underground railroad. And they sew the maps.
And
They have to,
strength.
yes, they have to take thread from garments that already exist, and they have to cut little because during the Civil War there was a shortage of thread and cloth, and these were enslaved women. They didn't have anything, so they cut fabric from themselves and from their dresses and their garments that they could hide, and then they sewed the map. It's really a fascinating the
Sounds
thread.
amazing.
It's a really wonderful book. And then I'm a big Nora Roberts fan. I'm thinking I need to write a suspense romance. She does that so well. So I just got finished reading her Identity. And then Colson Whitehead has a new book out. And it's a sequel that comes after his last one, Harlem Shuffle. And I'm blanking on the name of the new one. It just came out, but it's on my next to read list.
Great,
He's
wonderful.
always good. He's always good. He writes great stuff.
And we always say writers write and read. So I
Right.
guess that's what you're recommending to our viewers, that we have to write, but we also have to read, because that is what expands our vision of what can be written.
It's true. It's one of the ways we learn. It's one of the ways we get inspired.
Yes, and I saw you interviewed somewhere else and you mentioned the 3 things: writing, writers must write, writers must read, and writers must improve their craft every day. What do you do
Yes.
to improve your craft apart from reading?
So I am a serial class taker. I love I love
Gotcha.
that's how I met Frances Marie, because we were both serial class takers and we were in this
Exactly.
class.
Yes.
And it was on Zoom, and people were from all over the United States, and it just happened that the 2 of us live in the same city. We had no, I mean, how random was that? And we were
Very.
able to connect. So I do believe in taking workshops and classes. I always share my stories with my trusted beta readers, because they give me such great feedback, and that's how you learn. Also, my son is a gifted writer, and he's one of my best critics, because he writes beautifully, and he's helped me with each novel just by asking the right question. He doesn't tell me things. He says, "Did you mean?" And I go, "Well, no, I didn't mean that." He said, "Oh, well, that's what I read.
So you have a critic in residence or almost residence.
Almost close at hand. Close at hand.
Right. Excellent. Well, you have brought it all together with your reading and your writing and your craft development workshops. Keep it up, Karen. You are doing so well. You're on a roll.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate this. And Frances, where can our listeners watch you, find you, and be in touch with you, and kind of keep an eye on when your new wonderful novel is coming out?
Right. So my novel, When Banana Stains Fade, will be coming out in April 24. I am on Facebook. I have an author page on Amazon where my two other books, one is a poetry collection called Intersections, and one is a memoir of my teaching experience in Jamaica. And that one is called The Spirit of Clovelly Park, Teaching and Learning at Kingston College. So those are the main ways in which I can be found. I will, of course, be bombarding social media as soon as I get the knack of it to publicize information about my new book.
And you will find an interview of Frances Marie, one where I interviewed her previously, so you can find that on my website or on my YouTube channel. But also, there will be a new one coming as her book comes closer to publication. So we won't let you lose her.
Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you so much. And thank all of you for participating and watching. And do let us know that if you reach out to Frances Marie, please let her know that you met her here. Please follow both of us on social media. And please come back next week for the next episode of What Are You Reading? What Are You Writing? Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you, Karen. Bye.